Hi, Fran Torsen here. We're going to talk today about real estate brokers who are ignoring the privacy of their clients and putting their business on the line. One of the things that we are still finding is that 90% of real estate brokers still don't have a written social media policy manual for agents and for the brokerage, and this is a problem. A lot of people have a policy and procedures manual, but it doesn't cover social media. We're finding that only about 10% of brokerages really have a good social media policy manual in place. And from what I gather from speaking with brokers and managers around the country, part of the reason for that is that they're really afraid to put something into play. They're afraid to take a real firm stand about something because they don't want to lose agents. I've spoken with some brokers and managers at very, very large companies around the country, very, very large brokerages, and they're frankly just afraid that agents are going to walk out the door if they tell them that there are rules and they have to follow the rules. You know, agents want to be free spirits. They want to be independent. In many cases, agents really know more about social media and more about marketing and a lot about technology than a lot of their brokers. So that's part of the disconnect there. The other thing that we're seeing is that brokers are basically ignoring privacy issues, and they're letting a lot of things go, slip through the cracks. And that is probably because they don't understand how important that is. And it's time really to figure that out, because things are moving very, very quickly. People are getting sued, and privacy is a major issue. There are essentially three reasons you need a privacy policy. And when I talk about a privacy policy, I'm talking about a privacy policy that is attached to your website and how you use your website primarily. Reason number one, and the most important reason, is that it keeps you legal. You have to follow the law. You have to do things in a legal fashion in the United States and elsewhere. This webinar is designed primarily for U.S. brokers, but the law has things to say about privacy and about ways you have to behave. There are ethical concerns. If you are a real estate licensee and you are also a member of the National Association of Realtors and you are a realtor, then hopefully you know that there is a code of ethics that addresses privacy concerns, and that when you do not do your business, in accordance with that ethical canon, you can have problems there. And the third reason is Google wants it. Google wants to see a privacy policy on every website. If they don't see a privacy policy, if their little spiders and their little bots don't see it, they're not going to give you a ranking in the search engine. So that's probably not the most important reason, but if you're using your website to drive business, then yeah, you need to have a privacy policy because Google wants to see it. Google wants to keep the internet safe for people who are using the search engines and traveling online. My name is Frances Flynn Torsen. I am the author of the Real Estate Social Media Policies and Procedure Manual, a co-author. I have a broker implementation guide. I published this first in 2009. We've had an update since then. I'm working on a new update that will be ready shortly. This is the most comprehensive real estate social media policy and procedure manual in the business. I've been involved in this arena for a long time. I've been blogging for years. I started blogging in January of 2005. I've been very active online. I've been in real estate for almost 30 years in various capacities, as an agent, as a trainer, as a writer, as an educator. And prior to that, I was in magazine publishing and newspaper publishing. So my expertise relative to the printed word, goes back many, many years and has evolved over time. So that is who I am. I actually wrote the very first CE class in the country about social media risk management back in several years ago, and I did that for Arizona Broker University. So it is part of this new update that I'm doing that has me just addressing this privacy issue, because I'm seeing some really unfortunate things going on. Take stock of where you're at. Do you have a privacy policy on your website? I'm hoping that you do. And if you do, who wrote it? Did you have an attorney draw up the privacy policy? Did your webmaster draw up the privacy policy? And if your webmaster did, then did you have it at least reviewed by an attorney? So a privacy policy is important. A privacy policy is extremely important, in fact, and you don't want to leave your your legal futures in the hands of a webmaster without some legal help. So I am not here to give legal advice. I'm not an attorney. Please don't construe this as a legal advice. I'm just sharing some guidance and some thoughts about privacy in general, and I'll get a little more detailed in a little bit here. This is a short excerpt of text taken from the policy manual about the Personal Information Protection Act, and it talks about what happens when a consumer's personal information is breached. There is U.S. federal law that outlines the requirements to follow in the event there is a breach. And you may say, well, there are no breaches. Banks have breaches. Target has breaches. Target had a big breach back at Christmas time in 2013. And we hear a lot about banks with breaches, don't we? And we've heard more than our fair share of those happening with the foreclosure industry. But we're seeing it also happen more and more here in real estate on real estate agent websites. And I'm going to show you an example of that shortly here. Now, and again, this is from the policy manual. This is some recommended text in a manual for a broker, so that if there is a breach within the brokerage, if a licensee in your brokerage maintains a consumer's name along with other personal identifying numbers, and that information is breached, there is a line of command, and people have to be notified. In many states, the state real estate commission has to be notified, and the consumers have to be notified. If it's a breach involving a client, you need to have some plan about what to do about that. And again, here, just in bold type, there may be additional local laws requiring notification made to the local jurisdiction's regulatory authority. So know what that is in your local area. If you have a state or other regulatory authorities that want notice about a privacy breach, know what that is, and to take appropriate action if that happens. I'm going to show you an example of what you may see. And what most of what we're seeing is happening in the marketing arena, and brokers and agents are marketing without compliance standards, and they really need to be dealing with this because it's dreadful, absolutely dreadful. And what happens when the real estate broker is the cause of the breach? The example that I have for you here is actually an example from a real estate broker. Now, let's talk a little bit about how this happens in marketing. Real estate agents, real estate brokers are learning some good marketing tricks. They're learning ways to get more traffic to their websites. They're learning about ways to get higher search engine rankings. One of the ways they can do that is with PDFs, PDFs, videos, and I'm going to use PDFs as the example here. PDFs are almost as valuable as videos, in terms of getting search engine rankings. And the reason that is because Google can actually read the content in the PDF file, and Google will index the PDF file. So Google reads everything that's in there, and it helps rank. So having a good PDF distribution strategy, a PDF syndication strategy, as part of your content marketing plan is a great thing to do, but you have to do it right. And you have to be very careful about what's in that PDF. So just bear that in mind. Some of the PDF sharing sites are SlideShare and Scribd, and there are a whole bunch of good PDF sharing sites that will really help your rankings, but you have to be careful about what you share. Some of the good types of things you can share would be lists of things. Here download a list of things that you need to do before you move, things to do, and put together a PDF and put that on your website and make that available as a lead magnet so that people can download that. They give you their email address. It's a way you can build your list. Things that you need for a mortgage application, that's another idea. Any kind of a listy type of a document or a blog post is something that you can repurpose into a PDF and offer as a lead magnet. And that's the good way to do that. But what I'm going to show you is the not so good way of doing that. And the example I'm going to use is on our website that touts what's called a short sale trophy room. Now, certainly people have been using or doing a lot of short sales. Agents and brokers have been helping consumers do short sales for a long time, and short sales are not easy to do. So an agent or a broker who can accomplish a lot of short sales and have success with those has certain bragging rights. In this particular case, it's generally speaking, it's a really good marketing plan to have a trophy room. And what this broker did was list all of their short sale approvals by bank. And so you can see here that there's a list by banks, and then there is a short line of blue text. Now, the blue text that the arrows are pointing at is linkable text. And each of those text links goes to a PDF that has a copy of the letter, the approval letter from the bank, and that's in PDF form. And you can see here there are a bunch of them from Bank of America, from Chase, from Citi Mortgage, from HSBC, LBPS, Litton, MetLife, NationStar, PHH, USAA, Wells Fargo. There are a lot of these short sale approval letters in PDF form that are attached on this broker's website. And look what happens when you download those PDFs. Now, I have taken out certain information on those because a bunch of these letters contain very, very sensitive information. It contains property addresses of the property, of the houses that were sold. In many cases, they contain sellers' names, buyers' names, account numbers, complete financial details. On this one here, I downloaded this. I took out the address and I redacted the name. Here's another one from GMAC where the information was included. And you can see here, there's a lot of financial information and a lot of information that is not really held private. Here's another one that appears on the website. The red mark there is mine because it has a property address. I believe that even if you just have a property address, you may have a privacy issue. And there was some attempt to conceal the names of people using Sharpie or some type of magic marker. But I'm going to tell you that you can read past the magic marker and you can still find the information. So this is stuff that appears, as you can see, on a single website by the dozens and dozens and dozens. And I'm going to ask you what you think. Does this constitute a breach of information, a privacy breach? And what on earth does that mean? Exactly what does that mean? Does that harm the consumer when that information is made public? In some of these cases, it is sellers' names are displayed. In some of them, the buyers' names are disclosed. And that is something that legal authorities don't want to see, though that is something that is so harmful to the consumer. What is the brokerage risk in this case? Think about that. What happens when you have a breach of privacy on your website? I mean, does this constitute a breach of privacy? I'm not answering the questions, I'm asking questions right now. And if you are a broker and you're a broker who discovers that you have dozens of PDFs on your website that disclose sellers' names, buyers' names, and the very sensitive financial data, then you need to ask yourself, what is my brokerage risk at this point? Who do I need to notify? I think first people you need to notify are your legal eagles and talk to your attorney, obviously. But what is your exposure? What is your exposure if you're a broker and an agent is using this kind of marketing? If an agent is a really great short sale agent, does a really great job and has taken marketing to this level and is sharing this kind of information. What does that mean for you in terms of interagency cooperation? If you have a breach like this on your website and you are the listing agent for the property, and on that breach includes the name of buyers who came to you through a cooperating broker, what are your responsibilities legally to that other broker, to notify the other broker and to notify the buyer that they bought for that property? What are your responsibilities? Again, I'm not answering the question here, but these are questions that you need to be asking, and this is a trend that we're seeing. And what about the bank? The bank is the institution that provided the documents A bank has a duty of privacy to its clients, and what is your obligation as a broker to notify the bank? That's a really good question to ask your attorney, and this is something that you need to take back, that you need to brainstorm, you need to talk with your compliance people, you need to talk, your managers, your agents, you need to be getting this stuff in a row, because this is the kind of stuff we're seeing. What do you say and how do you respond if you are a cooperating broker and you see that another agent in another office that was involved with you on a deal publishes this kind of information on his website? What is your response? Is that a response that you are likely to take in an ethical arena, in a legal arena? What does that do about relationships between agencies? So those are just some of the questions that I have that I'm anxious to see how people are going to respond. So what is a broker to do? What can a broker do about all of this stuff? Well, a broker, I think the best thing for a broker to do, obviously, is to have a real estate social media policy and procedure manual, something in writing, something that can help. And of course, as I explained earlier, I have written this. I am doing a new one now. It makes things a whole lot easier and a whole lot more structured to have all of these things out there, so that when you're having a discussion with your agents and you're having a discussion with managers and compliance people, you have some language that you can use, some paragraphs that you can cut and paste and work and put to work for yourself.